Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the summer concert series featuring the North Shore Concert Band conducted by Mr. David Benjamin. My name is Larry Coates and I will be your announcer this evening. The North Shore Concert Band is a 501c3 IRS-approved nonprofit corporation. Tonight's concert, entitled March Madness, and it has nothing to do with basketball, is a night of stirring marches from Sousa to Williams and beyond. The concert tonight is sponsored by the E.W. Hobbs and the Salem Rotary. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, our seasonal sponsors, the Salem Willows Merchants Association, Music Performance Trust Fund, the City of Salem Trust Fund, and additional corporate sponsors and individual donors who are listed on the program handout. If you don't have a program handout like this, we have some up front. You can pick one up during intermission. We appreciate all the support from our sponsors and individual donors who have come forward in the past to make tax-deductible contributions to the North Shore Concert Band. Your contributions for the continuation of these concerts are most welcome and will help us to continue this long-standing tradition of Salem Willows concerts. All contributions are tax-deductible, and we will be happy to provide you with information regarding our 501c3 tax status and answer any questions you may have, as well as sharing more about how you can help, just as others have done. Just come to the bandstand during intermission. Tickets to tonight's raffle will be sold during the first half of the concert. Tonight we will be raffling off a gift certificate to Salem Wine Imports located on Church Street in Salem during intermission. And Paula will be circulating around to make those sales. You can pick up a copy of the current schedule, as I said, here. The schedule also has information telling you how you can sign up for notifications in case the concerts are delayed or canceled or rescheduled. Our theme for tonight, as I said, is March Madness, and our program has a lot of history. These marches are composed by the biggest names in the music in their time. They were the pop stars of the early to mid-1900s. They would produce concerts that were the predecessors of mega rock concerts today, with many thousands in attendance. One of the largest concerts held was in the early 1900s on Salem Commons and featured over 1,000 musicians and thousands of people in the audience. It was believed that it was produced by Edwin Franco Goldman, who was based in Salem early in his career. Another big name in March compositions was Salem's own Jean Missoud, and we'll be talking more about him later. Before we begin our program this evening, please extend a warm welcome to our conductor, Mr. David Benjamin. It is the band's standing tradition at each concert to begin with the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. But before we start, just a little bit of background. The arrangement we use is by Jack Stamp. In 1986, while a graduate student at Michigan State, Dr. Jack Stamp did an arrangement of the Star-Spangled Banner, which treats the work as a hymn ballad. Dr. Stamp...
That's not the one with...
Oh, that's not your one? Okay. Sorry. Then, here is the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. During the 1880s, a newspaper, the Washington Post, sponsored an essay concert for school children. The owners of the newspaper asked John Philip Sousa, then the leader of the Marine Band, to compose a march for the award ceremony. Next to Stars and Stripes Forever, Washington Post's march has been Sousa's most widely known march. Here is Washington Post March. The next selection is the Colonel Bogey March. It is a popular march that was written in 1914 by Lieutenant F.J. Ricketts, a British Army bandmaster. The tune was inspired by a military man, a golfer, who whistled a characteristic two-note phrase instead of shouting "four." Bogey is now a golfing term meaning one over par. Here is Colonel Bogey March. band's next selection is Radetzky March. Opus 228 is the march composed by Johann Strauss Sr. and dedicated to Field Marshal Joseph Radetzky von Raditz. First performed on 31st of August in 1848 in Vienna, it soon became a popular regimented marching with regimented marching soldiers. It has been noted that its tone is more celebratory than Marshal Strauss commissioned to write the piece to commemorate Radetzky's victory at the Battle of Costanza in Italy. Originally composed for a full orchestra, Alfred Reed's outstanding arrangement of this famous march retains all the charm of the original. Reed's arrangement offers a great opportunity for a modern concert band to showcase a European-style march. This version takes advantage of all the potential of this stately style, and its inherent dynamics makes it a perfect for festivals or concert use, and its audience appeal makes it appropriate for every occasion. Get ready to clap your hands to the band's performance of Radetzky's March.
Okay, eyes up. The goes all the way back to 9.
Our next march is All Forward by Jean M. Massoud. Massoud was a longtime director of the highly acclaimed Salem Cadet Band, which he directed for 63 years, setting a national record for band longevity. The talented Massoud was born in Nice, France in 1852. After showing aptitude for music at an early age, he played clarinet in the USS Sabine's ship band. His naval career was brief, and after arriving in Boston in 1870, he left the Navy to pursue a career in music. The Salem Cadet Band featured woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments. It grew from the dozen original members in 1878 to close to 30 members by 1900. For 25 years, it was the official music organization for the Ancient and Horrible Artillery Company of Boston. Locally, they played regularly on the Salem Commons and the Salem Willows. Hamilton Hall on Chestnut Street was another frequent venue, providing music for Salem assemblies, playing a mixture of waltzes, two-steps, and lanciers. They also toured major American cities and Canada quite regularly. Massoud was also a talented and prolific composer, and some of the pieces the band played were in his compositions. In 1881, his compositions were published in Boston under the title Salem Assemblies for the Waltzes. A tribute was paid to Massoud on the 50th anniversary of the band leadership, when a testimonial concert and banquet was given by past and present members of the Salem Cadet Band. After Massoud's death, a member of the band, George Rigby, continued his legacy of bringing music to Salem in an aptly named Rigsby Band. This band marched in parades and performed in concerts for more than 30 years. In 1996, Rigby donated a bass drum used by the Salem Cadet Band to the Peabody Essex Museum, where many of Massoud's personal diaries and compositions are held. The band at the bandstand at the Salem Common was dedicated to the memory of Jean-Marie Massoud at the dedication of the Washington Arch on July 4th, 1976. Here now is that march, All Forward. Amparito Rocco was composed in 1925 by Spanish musician and composer Jaime Tiexador. The piece was named after one of his students, the then 12-year-old Amparito Rocco. After studying composition and conducting in Barcelona, Tiexador joined the army in 1906 as a musician playing the saxophone. He became the director of the 68th African Regimental Band. He retired from military service in 1920 after 13 years with this band. In 1928, he won a competition to direct the Municipal Band of Barcelona, which he did until the end of his life. He composed over 500 works, which included marches, pasodobles, boleros, foxtrots, sambas, tangos, and waltzes for the band. His daughter was also a composer. His best-known composition is Amparito Rocco, which the band will now play. Here is that march. Carl Tieke wrote Old Comrades March when, at the age of 22, he was bandmaster to the 123rd Grenadier Regiment at Ulm, Germany. Tieke left Ulm and began a new stage of his career as a composing policeman at Potsdam near Berlin. His marches enjoyed immense popularity everywhere, and with Old Comrades, he won worldwide fame. It is said that Tieke even created a new kind of march in which, quote, the vigor of Prussian military marches is blended successfully with the tunefulness of the Viennese music, end quote. Here is Old Comrades. Between 1895 and 1955, circuses were in need of music that would stir up the audience into a frenzy as four-footed animals galloped across the ring. These became known as screamers. Because march music was a prominent part of the American music at the time, and because it carried such quick tempo, it was this that ringleaders demanded. Circus marches are faster than normal military marches. Many screamers have two prominent melodies playing at the same time. The average screamer can last anywhere between a minute to 3.5 minutes, and often are selected for the time element necessary. Due to the circumstances in which screamers are played, dynamics tend to stay at level forte, meaning loud. Unlike some military marches, the dynamic piano is rarely ever used. The most prominent composer of circus marches is Carl King, and most notably with this march, Barnum and Bailey's Favorite, which the band will play for you now. Other well-known composers include Henry Fillmore and John Philip Sousa. Here is Barnum and Bailey's Favorites. As I mentioned, one of the other famous march composers was Henry Fillmore, who was born in 1881 and died in 1956. He was a prolific composer and arranger and a beloved band leader whose music and performances delighted audiences. He started his own professional band, the Fillmore Band, in Cincinnati in the 1930s. one of the last great professional bands of its kind. He was also prolific in creating pseudonyms, including Harold Bennett, whose young band books were famous, Will Huff, Al Hayes, Gus Beans, Harrietta Hall, a rare female name, Ray Hall, Harry Hartley, and others. Over the span of his 50-year career, he and his pseudonyms wrote more than 250 original compositions, including 113 marches. He also created more than 750 arrangements for band, many of which are gold standards of the genre. After a long career in Ohio, he moved to Miami, Florida, and became involved with the bands at the University of Miami, where he had a lasting impact and where he left most of his estate. His honor is one of his very many famous marches, written in 1933. It is a brisk circus march with challenges for every instrument. Here is an excerpt from the program notes prepared by the legendary conductor Frederick Fennell for his edition of his honor from 1978. Fillmore dedicated his honor to Mayor Russell Wilson of Cincinnati, and according to Paul Bierley, it was probably played for the first time by the Fillmore Band during their concert at the Cincinnati Zoological Gardens in August of 1933. The Fillmore Brothers Company, the family publishing house, copyrighted it 22 January 1934. Here now is his honor. Carmen is a French opera by Georges Bizet. The opera premiered in 1875, but its opening run was denounced by the majority of critics and was almost withdrawn after its fourth or fifth performance. Bizet died of a heart attack at the age of 36, never knowing how popular Carmen would become. The title role was written for a mezzo-soprano, but the full score published in 1877 introduced higher sopranos alternatives for Carmen, and this has led to higher sopranos usually performing the recording the role. Since 1880s, it has been one of the world's most performed operas. Here is March from Carmen. Frank Cofield was born in Newcastle, Indiana on Christmas Day in 1913. He earned a bachelor's degree in music from Indiana University and a master's degree from Vanderbilt University in Nashville. He served 3 years in the U.S. Navy during World War II and was a band director in Seymour, Indiana, before joining Hal Leonard Corporation in 1957. Cofield learned his arranging skills from Harold Walters, and the best-known band writer at Rubank Publications. Walters was the band director at Seymour High School before Cofield, and Cofield would help him with the editing and copying for Rubank's book. Cofield was hired to work as Hal Leonard on the Walters recommendations. Cofield then became a mentor to the next generation of Hal Leonard band personnel until his retirement in 1991. Here is one of his well-known pieces, Dixieland Strut. We're going to take a short intermission, and during this time we'll also do the raffle for the gift certificate to Salem International Wines. Well, if you've been paying attention, it seems like everything's been written before like 1930. The next piece is going to be a change from that. Raiders March, Indiana Jones theme, was originally 2 songs simply played on piano by composer John Williams. He invited Steven Spielberg to his performance, and Spielberg asked him to link the 2 songs together to create Raiders March. The song was composed around 1980, and it has been used in every movie and also appears in the young Indiana Jones Chronicles to represent Harrison Ford's portrayal of the character. The full version of Raiders March includes a section of the love theme from Raiders of the Lost Ark, otherwise known as Marion's theme. The shorter version, excluding this section, is sometimes referred to simply as Indiana Jones theme. The music was first heard in its entirety during the ending credits of the first film. Here is Raiders March by John Williams. The Fairest of the Fair is a 1908 march by John Philip Sousa, one of Sousa's more melodic, less military marches. It was composed for the annual Boston Food Fair of 1908. It is claimed that the memory of a pretty girl he had seen at an earlier fair inspired the composition. Sousa composed The Fairest of the Fair is the only work of any kind that he composed that year, and one of only a handful of compositions that he wrote between 1906 and 1910. He apparently completed it in New York during the summer, as the final page of the original score was signed John Philip Sousa, Camp Comfort, Saranac Lake, Adirondack, New York, July 8, 1908. Tonight, as the band performs The Fairest of the Fair, you may discover a side of John Philip Sousa that you have not been exposed to. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this melodic march as the band performs Fairest of the Fair. As you may recall, at the beginning of our concert tonight, I mentioned that there was a Edwin Franco Goldman who held a concert over on Salem Common in the early 1900s that had 1,000 musicians and many thousands of people watching that performance. This next piece, On the Mall, is a famous march composed by that American Edwin Franco Goldman. Goldman is one of the most significant American band composers of the earliest 20th century. Goldman composed over 150 works, but is best known for his marches. He founded the renowned Goldman Band of New York City and the American Bandmasters Association. Goldman's works are characterized by their pleasant, catchy tunes, as well as their fine trios and solos. He also encouraged audiences to whistle and hum along to his marches. On the Mall vies with Goldman's Chimes of Liberty as his two most popular compositions. On the Mall still remains a featured march and continues to be performed and recorded by bands throughout America and around the world. Here is now On the Mall.
Okay, now the trio, the first time.
The Battle of Midway is a 1976 American Technicolor war film. The music score was composed by John Williams. The soundtrack used surround to augment the physical sensation of engine noise, explosion, crashes, and gunfire. Despite mixed reviews, Midway became the 10th most popular movie at the box office in 1976. The film chronicles the Battle of Midway, a turning point in World War II in the Pacific. The Midway March is typical of how Williams captivates the listener and draws them into the music. Listen now as John Williams draws you into this stirring march. Here is Midway March. This next march features our lower brass section. Getty Herschel Huffine was a self-taught American composer and bandleader who played the trombone and the tuba. In 1919, Huffine settled into Binghamton, New York, and became the primary composer, arranger, and tuba player for the Endicott Shoe Company Band. Think about that. When was the last time you went to work and listened to the company band play? Last company band I had was the United States Army. During his tenure with them, he wrote this selection. Here is Them Bases. Joseph Franz Wagner was an Austrian military bandmaster and composer. He is sometimes known as the Austrian March King. He is best known for his 1893 march, Under the Double Eagle, referring to the double eagle in the coat of arms of the Austria-Hungary coat of arms. The march became a favorite part of the repertoire of the American composer and band leader John Philip Sousa, whose band recorded it 3 times. The piece was the official regimental march of the Austrian Artillery Regiment No. 2 until its dissolution in 2007. The tune was recorded by Benny Goodman and was used for the well-known Monty Python's Flying Circus. The first part of the march is used in the 1992 computer game Great Naval Battles North Atlantic 1939-43, when Germany is selected in gameplay. Under the Double Eagle is also well known in country music, having been recorded by a number of guitar and banjo players, several of them identified with the bluegrass style. Here now is Under the Double Eagle. "76 Trombones" was composed in 1957 by Meredith Willson for the musical play, The Music Man. It was used again in a film made in 1962 and remade again for TV in 2003. Enjoy now as the band plays 76 Trombones. National Emblem was composed by Edwin Eugene Bagley while on a train tour with his family band. Unhappy with the ending, he tossed the composition into a bin. Fortunately, members of the band retrieved it and rehearsed it in secret and surprised him minutes before the next concert and told him they wanted to perform it. John Philip Sousa was once asked to list the 3 most effective street marches ever written. Not surprisingly, he named 2 of his own, but for the 3rd he selected National Emblem. Here now is National Emblem. Our next march is arguably one of the most famous marches in the world and is certainly one of its best. It is recognized by the U.S. government as the official march of the United States, with its clashing cymbals, bombastic brass, and high-pitched piccolos. The Stars and Stripes Forever gets millions of people on their feet clapping and cheering year after year. Here now is Stars and Stripes Forever. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our concert for this evening. Please join us next week when we have Spotlight on the Band, July 26th at 7 p.m. right here. Thank you very much for attending, and see you next week.